Thanks for the follow. But yeah, and a lot of times when people
Yeah,
talk
James,
about
give it
accent,
minutes. Call.
and like another, oh, he's got another call. But thanks for the gifts, Mr. Silms. I can kind of keep talking about what he was asking about though. So it is it is very hard to kind of, at least for me, it's kind of hard to distinguish between accent and pronunciation. Like, you know, it's better to have a good pronunciation than a good accent because everybody's going to have some type of accent because, we have in the United States, we have the Southern accent, we have, accents for different places. And, I could talk with somebody who's a native, and they could be from my part of the United States even. Like, if their pronunciation isn't good, I'm not going to have I'm not gonna be able to understand them. Like there's some people they don't pronounce the words. They whenever they say it or they talk, they mumble. So it's like you're listening to it, it's like blah, 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 and like you know they're slurring their words together, and it's kind of like linking words that you have to learn when you're learning English. Like instead of saying I got to, we say I gotta. But some people they do it so much that it gets really hard to understand them. I've even seen it before where people would take a recording of somebody who's speaking English, and they'd single out a certain clip of them speaking to where you only hear like a very small part, but it's so run together you don't understand it really. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Mr. Sims. But you know, sometimes it's easier for me to understand foreigners, than other natives, just because, you know, obviously they may be speaking slower than a native would, so that's going to matter. But sometimes they pronounce things a lot more clear, though. They don't, as they're speaking, they're not focused always on, like, some people speak with a very clear American accent, even though it's not their native English or their native language. And because of that, it's really easy for me to understand because they're pronouncing everything as its own word instead of like merging things. So it's better to have a good pronunciation than accent because, even if we don't always even understand other natives sometimes, if they speak so fast or so mumbled, they may, technically they're native, but, I mean, of course they have an accent, but it's not so much the accent that we're having trouble with, it's their pronunciation because they're just saying things so close together. And these two things, pronunciation and the what's it called? Accent, sorry. They kind of cross. Thanks for the follow, Muhammad, by the way. So yeah, it is kind of hard to distinguish between the two, but for anyone who's wanting to improve, their speaking, try focus more on like until you get to a good level, I would say like try to before you don't have to wait till you're at a good level, but make sure like before like you can pronounce everything, very clearly, as close as you can to the native. I'm not saying you have to speak like a native, but try to make sure like you're trying to speak it clearly, like because it can that if your pronunciation's off, it's gonna matter. Um, then once you do start getting more comfortable, then you can start trying to learn how to say them more naturally. For me in French right now, that's something I have to get used to is like not only pronouncing all of the words correctly, but being able to